Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the SportsIntel.com podcast. It is very early out here on the West Coast. There's so much good sports to talk about today. We just couldn't wait. So we're going to get right to it. And, usually we record these on a Tuesday. Circumstances dictated that we wait a day to do it today on Wednesday. And boy, what a difference a day makes. Already this morning, huge news out of the Big Ten that they will be returning to play football in late October. But we're going to start in the National Basketball Association. And man, oh man, the Los Angeles Clippers. Vic, you promised us the Clippers were going to be in the finals.
With the
Bucks, no less.
I was wrong.
Vic may have to stick to football and golf because his NBA was not so good. What went, guys? Obviously I was in Slam Diego last night against the Dodgers. So and I was also in deep mourning after the Game 1 loss to the Heat. But talk to me about is this a great effort by the Nuggets, or are we talking about the end of the Doc Rivers era in Los Angeles?
I think it's both. I did pick the Clippers, Choke City. Doc Rivers, like we talked about offline a little bit. The Clippers have had some of these issues, and they have.
Doc Rivers didn't want to hear it, so he just killed Vic.
I think you're right.
While we wait for Vic to return to us, same thought. I mean, I don't know. You seemed a little less certain about the removal of Doc as head coach. Give me your thoughts from last night and where you see the Clippers going from here.
It's not so much that I don't think he won't be removed. I think he's done, but I don't think he can receive all the blame for what happened last night. He's already accepted it, right? He came out publicly and said it's my fault. That was more of a face-saving gesture than anything else. If you look at the game, either live or on the recap, the shots that they were missing were just ridiculous. First-year high school shots that anyone could have made. And it just doesn't add up. I mean, they started so strong in the series to come back and lose 4 games. That's just not right. I mean, I know it's happened before, but it's something was off big time last night.
Yeah, I think the thing that really is going to doom Doc, a couple things. One, the fact that it happened 5 years ago, almost the exact same scenario against Houston. So now they've got this sort of almost like now it's like this is what they do. And what was it, 16-point lead in game 5 or game 6, and 19-point lead in the other game? I mean, it's not just that they lost. I mean, this was really a true choke. And I just think, again, when you add on what has previously happened with this franchise, which a franchise that obviously by going out and getting Kawhi and you've got these guys, they were primed to win this year. And for it to fall apart like that, we know that the coach is the one that gets sacrificed in a situation like this. I don't know who they would go out and get. I don't know who they think would do a better job. I mean, Doc Rivers is still
the ship, right? But I mean, the Clippers from the first game of the season, they looked sharp. They took down the Lakers, and everyone was all of a sudden, wait a minute, what's going on here? And they managed to pull it out and get this far. And that's the whole point. To reach the point that they did and then falter is just absurd. No excuse for it whatsoever.
Well, again, that's why I'm afraid, I mean, I love Doc. A lot of people, we all kind of do. I mean, he's great for the league, and he is a good coach. But I just think the Clippers have to now look and say, look, this is not working. And I think he's going to be the one that goes. Vic, welcome back.
No, sorry, I got cut off, man. To answer your question, I think is a little bit of both. The blame will go on Doc, but to me, the Nuggets played really well, and the Clippers players got to look at themselves in the mirror, man. Like this guy, Paul George, called himself Playoff P. He named himself that. Look at the series he had. He had 0 fourth quarter points, I think, 10 points in the game. I mean, people are not going to talk smack about Kawhi because he's a champion. He's a quiet dude. He doesn't talk smack all season long. Paul George has been talking smack. Beverly's been talking smack. So, they got roasted last night on Twitter, and understandably so. And they haven't won anything. And, to go out and then choke 3-1, like you guys said, it is pretty disappointing. But I think you're right, Jeff. I mean, they're stuck when it comes to a roster standpoint. They don't have their picks anymore for, I think, the next 5 or 7 years. So they're going to, change coaches, probably try that first, and Doc's going to fall on the sword.
Yeah, I think so. But on the flip side, the Nuggets, I mean, what a story. I'm old enough, Eric and I don't know about you, Vic. Eric and I are old enough to remember Dikembe Mutombo on the ground, holding the ball, after they knocked off Seattle. It was at 1994,
That was my first, I think, real big upset in life, right? The first 8-1.
I think it was the first 8 to beat a 1. And so now here they are again, and they're playing the Lakers. I was actually looking up some history. I wanted to get a historical perspective on this, and I realized the last 2 times that Denver has reached the conference finals, and they don't reach it very often, but it was 2009 and 1985, and both times their opponent was the Los Angeles Lakers. So it's like they can't. Every time, whenever they get to the conference finals, they always draw the Lakers. I have to say, I remember the one in 1985 specifically because it was the series where was it Danny Shays, right? Danny Shays, his father was Dolph Shays, right? Danny Shays got all mad at Kareem for something, and he literally jumped on Kareem's back and started punching Kareem, and it was that was the only thing that Denver did well in that series. They got smoked, and that's when the Lakers finally beat the Celtics in Boston in Game 6 to win the championship. That was 1985. How old were we? I was in high school. Anyway, I digress. Nuggets. I mean, I guess what they're going to intentionally lose 3 of the first 4 games, and then they'll have the Lakers right where they want them.
Well, that's if the Lakers actually take it. He's already gotten off to a good start.
Yeah. I would imagine the Lakers got to feel like this is the matchup. If they could have drawn it up, they would take the Nuggets, but I don't know.
Yeah,
especially considering how vulnerable the Lakers are in the middle, and the Joker is looking mighty spry right now.
I was looking up some stats though, and AD Anthony Davis has done well against the Joker in LA, and LA I think is 3-1 against them so far. But to Eric's point, I like the Heat, man. That's a good team.
Yeah.
Well, we can get there, but they remind me a lot of the Pistons team, the Billups Ben Wallace team. They play like a team, good coach, good chemistry, good defense. But the Nuggets look good, man. You got to give them props. They got 2 young superstars. As a Bulls fan, I'm super excited that we got the guy who actually built that team. He's now running the Chicago Bulls. So that kind of can give some Bulls fans a little bit of hope, I think, moving forward, because he put together a damn good squad in Denver.
Yeah, I don't know what – I mean, I watched it happen yesterday, but, the Celtics – I think the Celtics are the better team here. And for about 39, 40 minutes yesterday, they were the better team. And, but they just – the same thing happened in Toronto. I mean, with Toronto, they just sort of they just have these stretches where they just kind of stop. I mean – we hear all the time, we especially in Boston, it's like, Brad Stevens, he draws up the best plays, and he's the master at drawing up an inbounds play. And I'm like, yeah, where was that yesterday? I mean, was that the play when Jason Tatum's going to just stand out there 35 feet away, dribble 5 or 6 times, and shoot the ball? That's the play? I mean, Kemba doing the same thing. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I still think the Celtics are going to probably win the series. It probably will go 7. But I think this standing around and just shooting threes stuff has got to stop. I mean, they're not winning anything, not against this team. You're right. I mean, Miami has looked great. They've just been super solid this whole postseason. And, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they may not necessarily be flashy. I mean, Jimmy Butler can provide that. But, I mean, Bam and Dragic, I mean, they're all – and Harrow, I mean, they're all just playing – really solid, sound team. It's like the old Knicks, you know. I mean, they're just. I mean, I'm talking the really old, like '70s Willis Reed Knicks, you know, like just.
I went with the Pistons.
Not the '94 Knicks with Starks, but you know they're solid and and Vic's. You know, these early mornings are tough on some people, and it's a little tough on Vic right now. So we'll see. I think the Celtics will rebound. They have every time they've lost, they've obviously come back and figured out a way. But that was very disappointing yesterday. And again, just the way that they handled the end of the game possession was just like, what are you doing?
I think it'll be fun, man. I think it'll be a great series, back and forth.
Yeah, and you know, home court advantage is huge right now. So,
well, Jeff, you said it. You know, when you mentioned they're playing strong, they're playing solid. That's the key, right? I mean, it's not coming out in one game and having a huge amount of success. It's being consistent all the way through.
Right.
And that's where the heat is right now. Now, whether or not they can keep it up through the series, we'll see in their next game. But they've really shown a lot of consistency this in the latter half of the year and in the postseason.
They're very mentally tough. This Miami team is extremely mentally tough, and it just seems like, especially even against Milwaukee, you know, like Harrow, just the guy is just nails down the stretch, you know, and so yeah, I mean, you got the Celtics take a 10-point lead with however many 6-7 minutes left. Miami's not going to fold. I mean, they're obviously, and and that's the thing. And I don't know, maybe the Celtics underestimated them a little bit and kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit yesterday. But
I mean, seriously, all right, I'm going to say it. They became wusses. They even said it, right? They said that they were tired of being away from their families. They wanted to go back home. They mentally checked out before the series was over, and that's what cost them.
The Clippers, you're talking about?
The Clippers.
Yeah. Well, it could be. It could. Well, yeah. And again, but if that's also the case, I think that also reflects on the coach. If the players if that's how your players, if that's their mentality at the end of a series, a game 7, chance to go to the conference finals, and that's where your heads are at. I think that also that really negatively reflects on your coach, and so we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything right away. But if I were Doc, I would be very, for a whole lot of reasons, I would be very concerned about my future employment. So let's see. Let's move on. Well, we as I said this morning, the news is breaking all around us that the Big Ten, which had originally said that they were not going to be playing college football in the fall, have reversed course and are now scheduling to open their season October 24th. And I would say, and this is coming from someone who has been sort of, about as pessimistic as you could be about the ability to play sports, and of course I've been proven completely wrong. And I think so. I at this point, I figure it's probably going to work out fine. I think a lot of the, the doom and gloom scenarios, none of them are really happening yet. But with every week that goes by, that leagues are not having to stop. I mean, even Major League Baseball, for all their problems, have not really had. I mean, they had a false positive with the Giants over the weekend here in San Diego. It's just a hiccup. I mean, really, they haven't had any problems now for about 2 or 3 weeks. Football, well, I mean, I guess we'll find out. The NFL, though, I mean, everything went off without a hitch, and it sounds like it's probably going to continue that way. Obviously, the basketball and the hockey is, like what virus, right? So I don't think I have a big problem with them deciding to come back and play. I think this is probably going to work out fine, because I think, at least as far as these teams, the schools themselves may not be taking it seriously, but I feel like at least these programs are taking it seriously and are going to keep their kids protected as best they can. So why not give it a try? Eric, what do you think?
I'm sorry I've been here for a second, but I think the Big Ten did it the right way, man. They, and in life in general, right? These scientists wanted to make sure half the population of the Earth didn't get wiped out in one day, so they were overly cautious. So same thing with Big Ten. They waited. They're seeing everybody else play football. They're understanding the rapid testing is available. They're understanding the protocols and safety measures that the other schools are taking, and now they made a decision once they got all that information to move forward. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that more people in life should follow similar philosophies. Everyone's either, you're an idiot or you're this or you're that, and they're so hard stances that they'll never come around to changing their mind. I think the Big Ten did it right, man. And I'm glad. I mean, let's see what happens in general, but to wait, gather info, see everybody else doing it, understand the safety protocols, and now the rapid testing that's going to be available, I think, is a big game changer. The other big thing to me is like a lot of these athletes, like not everybody's situation in life is different, right? Like whether you're an athlete or a person, like not everyone goes home to a nice house, has food, has social interaction, has friends, family. Like a lot of these people come from hard places, a lot of these athletes as well, right? And so they need sports mentally, they need it for life. And so, I think it was a good decision by the Big Ten to actually make a move. And whether it's right or wrong, I don't know yet. It's still to be seen. But the way they went about stuff, I have nothing wrong with it.
Do we think with this decision that the other Big Five, like the Pac-12, are they going to come? Are they also? Are we now going to expect them to reverse their course and say, "Hey, we're going to try to play, late October," or are we thinking that they're going to stay out? What, based on this decision, it seemed like the Big Ten was like the sort of like the canary in the coal mine for all these decisions. And I wonder now that they said, "Hey, we're going to play," if that's going to bring the other Big Five that are out back in. Eric, what do you think?
The Pac-12 is having to deal with the political side of the house more than the Big Ten, and California is trying to suppress them still, right? Suppress the California teams in the Pac-12. Not intentionally, it's just the nature of COVID right now on that side of the country. So even if the Pac-12 wanted to get back in, they're not as free to do so. They're being held. Their hands are being tied right now. I'm sure they would love to. Who wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? At this point, obviously, like you said, Jeff, the bubbles worked well. But even now, going into the second week of NFL, we're not hearing any major outbursts about COVID starting to run rampant. The cases that we're seeing in MLB at the beginning of the reboot, now it's almost non-existent. So plans are working, right?
Yeah.
The
But
safety and health precautions that they put into place are doing their job, and people have already shown that they can work. So sure, as long as everyone can adhere to those policies, then yeah, let's bring it all back.
it's not funny. I mean, there's nothing funny about what I'm going to say, but I guess maybe ironic. If the Pac-12 were playing right now, half of their games would probably be wiped out this weekend anyway, because I don't know how Oregon State, Washington State, I don't know how they if they had home games this weekend, there's no way they'd be able to play because of the fires. And LA, I think teams like USC and UCLA would have been okay to play. Stanford probably would have been okay to play, but I mean, we saw it last night. I got the alert that the Giants Mariners game got canceled, and I thought, geez, maybe that Giants test wasn't a false positive. And I'm like, no, it's not because of COVID, it's because of the fires, because the air out in Seattle is so bad. Where's that Patriots Seahawks game Sunday night? Is that in Seattle or is that in New England? Do we know? I don't even know off the top of my head. But are they going to be able to play in Seattle on Sunday night? Because we thought maybe the San Francisco game was going to get banged. There was talk about that happening on Sunday. It didn't happen. But if the situation up in the Pacific Northwest stays the way it is now, they might not. Seattle would have a hard time taking the field Sunday night in Seattle. I got to look that up.
The game is in Seattle.
Yeah, so I mean that's something that actually is something that will have to be monitored. I would think for the rest of the week. Will the air quality be such that they can actually take the field and play? Now it's the NBC Sunday night game, so I'm going to guess that whether the air is okay or not, they're going to play. But it's just something to keep an eye on. And we'll use that as our awkward transition to looking back. Let's take a quick peek back at week one of the season. Eric, what's your biggest takeaway from week one? What piqued your interest the most there after the first week of the season?
Well, one of the things, of course, is Brady's got a long way to go if he wants to be the same reigning champ he was with the Pats. I mean, his performance on the field was subpar by any measure, and you got to give him a little leeway. New team, right? No preseason. They're still working out the kinks, so we'll see how he progresses over the next couple of games. And then, of course, Cam Newton did better than I would have expected up north. And overall, the teams were doing right in line with what I think most people had expected. The Bears, Vic, they pulled it out.
Oh,
barely.
Yeah.
And Ghost should be spending about 27 hours a day practicing his extra points.
Yeah.
That was brutal. That was pretty ugly. And I don't necessarily like to bash on anybody, but missing a point after is not something that can be accepted by any stretch of the imagination. Period.
Yeah, but it's not the old time, from the 2-yard line point after anymore. I mean, it's that's not
they've known this. They've known this.
I know, but it's still
he's got the experience in the
thing in
league.
the world. I gotta say though, I was, look, he redeemed himself. He made the kick at the end, right? But I was thinking like leading. And by the way, so a couple things. First of all, who was the bigger goat? Or not goat, like goat as in blew it. Goskowski for missing all those kicks, or Vic Fangio? Like, does he? I said the other night, like, does he attend those clock management meetings? What were they doing? From between throwing the ball on the previous possession instead of running it to kill clock when they had the lead, and then just letting Tennessee, like, not stopping the clock at all. Like, they could have given themselves at least an extra minute if they used their timeouts. That was the most bizarre thing. Like, and but the other thing I was thinking is Goskowski. Like, who's gonna wind up being like having the worst weekend in the NFL? Was it going to be Goskowski for missing all those kicks and probably having his career ended, or that? And Vic, you make me think of this. That poor rookie running back for Detroit. Oh, heartbreaking. Couldn't even watch the replays. Like, that poor kid, like that. I hope that, his teammates rallied around him. That was as bad a drop as that was so bad. And I felt I hope he comes out this weekend and has a big game, because like that could wreck him for a while. Like,
he's getting death threats on social media.
Yeah.
You know how it is nowadays with social media. Poor
Sure.
kid. His teammates, of course, stepped up for him. He had a good game. He had a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be fine, man. But I thought that game was over. It reminded me of the Calvin Johnson catch. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
Oh, sure, of course.
another game that the Lions should have beaten the Bears.
Yeah, right.
Just like this weekend. But I'll take the W, man. But yeah, I will go with Goskowski. To Eric's point, like, you got to hit the extra points. I understand they moved it back, but to have that bad of a game, like, literally, he cost them the game, right? The Broncos couldn't really get much going. Vic Fangio, he said his defense was he looked over at their sideline, and it looked like Goskowski was scared. So he said he wanted to, who knows? He's probably making this up now because everyone's talking about his timeout clock management. But he said that's what they wanted, and he thought they would miss. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, you could understand why he would think that. I guess I put up a tweet with about 5 minutes ago. I said "ghost to the post," and then in parentheses NFL career. Like this is going to be it. He might have got cut. In fact, they showed him at one point. It looked like he was taking his shoes off. Like after the third field goal miss, he was on the sideline. He was like taking off his shoes. I thought, wow, did Vrabel tell him like, just go home. You're done. Take your shoes off. You're not going back in the game. And oh man, the ghost. But he survived. I'll tell you another coach that should be getting roasted today after the news yesterday is Sean Payton. Now, I don't know if you guys, and we were all watching that game the other day for the Brady factor, but so the Saints are up 11 with 2 minutes to go. They're on the Saints, they're on the Bucs 9-yard line, and the Bucs have no timeouts. So they could have just taken a knee. They could have taken 2 knees, would have left the Bucs with 30 seconds to have to go 95 yards, and they still needed 2 scores. And Sean Payton is running plays like it's, tie game in the Super Bowl. And of course, what happens? One of his own guys rolls up on the back of Michael Thomas's ankle. There was like 30 seconds. Why is Michael Thomas in the game? The game's over. And you're like running plays. And now you've lost Michael Thomas for who knows how long. Like that's just, how stupid are you? And I mentioned it in the pod we did the other day that I still have some doubts about. I know they look great against the Bucs, but I'm not convinced. And if Michael Thomas is going to be out now for a month, or I don't know how many weeks he's going to miss, I'd be very. There's nobody. Who's in that division? That's a terrible division. But man, I would be very concerned right now if I'm the Saints. I other than Thomas, like. Emmanuel Sanders looked like, he's not. It's going to be what? Jared Cook, Kamara, and Cook. How far are you going to get with that?
They're saying 46 weeks.
Yeah, and again, it's like, why was he even in the game? The game, it's over, son. It's over. Sit your boys down, and put in your backups and take a knee. And I'm pretty sure that the Bucs are not going to put up 11 points in 30 seconds when they have to go the full length of the field. I couldn't understand it. You get what you deserve.
I like this GOAT segment, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment on coach as well.
Yeah, it was astonishing, But hey, there you go. Vic, what else? What else did you take away from what impressed you? What didn't? And by the way, one more. Can I have one more?
For sure.
You got 4th and 1. You're down by 3 at midfield. You have the best running back in the league, and you don't give him the ball. That's it. That's all I have to say.
No, you nailed it.
I'm done.
I got another GOAT for you, Matt Patricia.
Ooh.
And think about this. Somebody had called him out on blowing 4th quarter leads. I think he has the most in the NFL since he became a head coach. The Bears said they knew what Patricia was going to do in the 4th quarter as soon as he went from zone to man. Mitchell Trubisky plays well against man. Everyone knows this. He's terrible against zone. That's why he struggled in that game for the first 3 quarters. Patricia switches to man. They're up big. He goes conservative as usual. He attempts a 57-yard field goal at the end of the game when they're already up 2 scores and cuts the field in half for the Bears for them to be able to come back and win that game. And so he's blown 4th quarter leads. He was terrible this game. A reporter asked him about it, and he got upset and then brought up the New England Patriots. He said he made the biggest play in NFL history. I was like, get out of here, man. So to me, I think he's a bad coach. Matt Nagy's owned him 5-0 against the Lions. He's 9-33 or something since he took over. And to me, he might be up for goat of the week this week.
Yeah, that's a good one. All these ex-Patriot assistants.
Packers look good. To your question, who surprised me? It was Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. I'm a hater. I think they're going to have a bad year. I thought Rodgers is going to have a bad year as well, but they came out guns a-blazing this first game. And so I will give them credit. That was pretty impressive to me. The way both Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay came out to play on the road at Minnesota and to kind of put a beating on them like they did.
Yeah.
To me, that was probably one of the biggest things that stuck out, other than what you guys talked about. And then it was interesting to see, like, you know, the Washington football team, because I can't call them the Skins anymore, but they did their thing, and it's nice. I love Riverboat Ron, and it was nice to see him kind of get a win and show that they're not the laughing stock of the league anymore. And maybe that's still Cleveland. To talk about all the pieces that they've put together, right, the last few years, superstar trades, playmakers, all this draft capital, they've kind of gone all in, and to come out and lay a dud like that in week one was, you got to say, embarrassing. I don't know what else to call it. And they're still doing the stupid bonehead stuff. Did you guys see the fake punt attempt in the first half?
Yeah.
That they had? And so I don't know, man. Same old Browns. And those are some of the things that stuck out to me from week one.
Dare we say that Odell Beckham sort of pooped his pants?
He was, again, like.
Can we say that?
He was, social media nowadays, there's the scoop, right? I think that's why everyone's calling out the Clippers, and I think that's why everyone's calling out Odell. When the Ravens signed this cornerback this offseason, him and Landry were talking a lot of smack. They have the receipts from Twitter. And now the Ravens are kind of putting that back out there like, hey, what happened, buddy? Like, what did he have? 2 catches for, like, nothing? And so – I think if you talk smack, you got to be able to back it up nowadays, especially in the social media world, man, because everyone keeps those receipts.
Vic, I don't think you got my joke. That's okay.
Well, what was it? Oh, the poop. My bad.
I thought I had that nice setup, and then
I like
you're
that.
talking about some quarterback. I'm like, no. Come on.
My coffee is just starting to hit in.
I know,
right
it's early. It's very early.
I like that joke. That was funny. Okay. Yeah.
Moving on. I will agree with you, though. The one other thing I was going to mention was Washington. And I think they're going to get – I think they actually have a chance to be decent because, they drafted Chase Young. Boy, Chase Young looked great. I got a chance to watch a lot of that game. And that front four for Washington is going to be a problem for a lot of teams, especially in that division. Like, boy, if I'm the Giants, I'd be very concerned about having Washington on the schedule twice because that front four is already one game in. They look like the fearsome foursome or whatever. Maybe they're the Burgundy people eaters. That was very. And again, I know Philadelphia's offensive line was decimated going in, and Lane Johnson. Maybe he's going to play this week. We'll see. So it was not a good situation for Philadelphia as far as their O-line was concerned, but that defensive line is going to keep Washington in a lot of games because they're just going to be bringing a lot of heat, and making life difficult for some quarterbacks that don't have great lines.
Chase Young is a beast, man, and they got the right coach for this defensive front.
Yes, they do.
Match made in heaven. And you're right, man. They're gonna be good, surprisingly good this year. And the kid that they let Adrian Peterson go for, Gibson, he looked pretty good in the first game. I was watching him a little bit on Red Zone. So it'll be fun to kind of watch the resurgence. And Giants are coming into Chicago this weekend. I thought that game was a lot closer than the score indicated too. I don't know if you guys stayed up to watch Monday Night Football, but if it wasn't for Daniel Dimes throwing a couple of like insane picks in the red zone, I thought that game was a little closer than expected too.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, and we'll have to see what the deal is with Connor. And, Eric, you wrote about that yesterday. I mean, boy, that guy can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
I thought Ben looked okay. I mean, his numbers wound up looking pretty good. Juju was certainly, look, Juju, how happy was he to have Ben back?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you're right. That was, it was a sloppy. It was not a pleasant viewing experience, that game. And Pittsburgh. Boy, you got to beat the Giants better than that. I mean, that Giants team is going to be rough. They're going to be that's a rough team. All of us Evan Ingram fantasy owners. Yeah, I don't know, man. Thank God I have Jared Cook as my other tight end on my two teams, so I can now, especially now with Tom's out, I think Jared Cook's going to probably smash for the next few weeks. But I don't know. The Giants. I mean, Slayton looked great, but that's not a very good team, and so we'll see. Yeah, your Bears 2-0. You gotta figure 2-0.
No, man, trust me. This is the kind of game that they lose. I don't know if you guys actually played the Giants recently, and that's when their defense was the best of the best. I think it was 2 years ago, and they lost. They lost that game. So in Soldier Field, and so I don't know, man. I will be happy with a win, but I'm going into this game very, very cautious, and I hope the Bears don't get a big head. They got some drama going on right now with Allen Robinson too. So
yes, they do.
Yesterday he deleted the Bears stuff off of his social media, and this has been lingering for a while. He's been wanting his extension for a while. I don't blame him because he's already had a major injury in his career, right?
Right.
In Jacksonville, and he's been a great pro on and off the field in Chicago. Like, to me, he's not like top 7 level, but I put him in that next tier, second tier. He's reliable, good route runner, has good hands. He's been great in Chicago. He helps kids in the community off the field. He's a leader in the locker room. If you look on Twitter, all his teammates are putting the hashtag out, extend AR, right? So,
yeah.
And to me, so there's definitely a little drama surrounding the Bears this week as well. And so that's why I don't think this weekend's a gimme, man.
All right. We'll see. Eric, any final thoughts as we start looking ahead to week 2?
Well, that's just it. I mean, we really need to have another week behind us to make some better calls. There's, as we've talked about plenty of times before, there's no real basis to judge how these teams are going to play other than week 1. And, there were definitely more than a handful of surprises during those games. So we'll see what happens, this weekend, if things turn around or if they stay the same as we saw in week 1. And, from that, we can make better assessments on how these players are going to react to the changing league.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least we have it to talk about. And,
finally.
So we'll see. So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna leave it at that. We will be back on Friday to take a deeper dive into week 2. We're gonna look at all the matchups, make some picks, and we'll have Vic's picks ready to go. And we will see what week 2 has in store. But for now, thank you for joining us. Breakfast with Sports Intel. Hopefully for the last time.
Bring the pancakes next time.
We'll get back to brunch the way it should be. And but we will be back on Friday. And so for Eric and for Vic, I didn't do the introductions this week. It's Eric and Vic. You guys know. We will see you all in a couple days. Enjoy and go Padres.
All right,
See you later.